Welcome to the woods. Well, actually today, welcome to the cabin because it's pissing down out there, or it was. Well, I'm going to talk today about uninvited guests. Now, if you've watched any of the other videos, you'll know that just beyond the cabin, I've got about 120 chickens, got turkeys, got ducks up there now as well. And over the last 5 years, I've kind of refined an environment for the poultry up there to make it ideal for them. So I provide them with pens and shelter, food, water, and it's got its own kind of little ecosystem up there now as well, which is cool. And by providing all of that, they lay a lot of eggs. And they're happy birds, and a lot of the time they're free ranging. But if you keep poultry, you're gonna attract a few other animals. Well, the first one's the fox. So you've got to protect the birds from the fox, who will usually be at dusk or at dawn. And ours are penned, 6 foot high, panels all the way round. Now a fox will get over that, but to be honest, the only birds that the fox has taken have been the ones that tend to live on the outside of the pens. Getting into one, because there's no trees right by them, and because there's no easy access back out, they tend to leave the pens alone. The other uninvited guest will be the rats, and they are a problem. So the food, shelter and water that I provide for the poultry, so that it's a good environment for them, also attracts the rats, who move into the area and take the food and the water and the shelter, but provide nothing in return. So is it possible just to leave them as part of the environment? Well, sadly, no, because unlike other animals in the woods, like the bees who made a nest in the roof for 2 years, and the fox who will come round occasionally, the rats operate on a completely different system from anything else here. So their breeding cycle, if I was to have 50 rats in 2.5 acres, I'd probably never see them. They're nocturnal and they keep out of sight. But that 50 rats within a year is capable of becoming around 8,000. And that's a lot of rats in a year. If I don't do anything then, that 8,000 can become 700,000 by year 2, and by year 3 you're looking at figures around 60 million. Unbelievable in 3 years. So it's something you've got to keep on top of. Now these uninvited guests will move into an area. They will take the food, water and shelter that's provided for the birds. They'll give nothing in return. They'll breed at such a rate that they will completely overrun the whole environment. When numbers get big enough, they'll start to fight each other for space and food. They will kill each other. They will cannibalize the dead. They don't just eat the food you put down for the birds, but they will also prey on the young and attack the chicks and kill them. And when the numbers become great enough, they'll attack the full-grown birds and eat them. So the question for me was, what's the best way to deal with that situation? I would prefer it if they weren't here. They are uninvited guests, but they are. So how do you get rid of them? Well, the first thing you've got to do is keep the numbers down. And sadly, as an animal lover with 6 dogs and cats and birds and everything else you can possibly think of, don't like killing things, but I'm left with very little choice. So I have to kill as many as I can. I can't put poison down because I've got the dogs and I've got cats and I've got the chickens who will also eat the poison. So that's out of the question. I could put traps down. The problem with traps is that the birds will go for whatever bait's on there as well. So you end up killing your own birds. So traps aren't really in the equation. So I can shoot. So I do shoot. And one of the dogs, Izzy, is pretty good at ratting. And I've also got some friends with terriers who come up every now and then. And it keeps the numbers down, but doesn't eradicate the problem completely. So the second thing you can do is to discourage them from even being here. And as I said, the reason they're here is because there's a ready supply of food, a ready supply of water, and a ready supply of shelter. So you've got to start taking away their incentive to be here. So by removing the food that used to be left in big 25 kilo feeders, which the chickens would eat from and then it fills itself, and they were left out overnight, so it transpired we were actually feeding more rats than we were feeding chickens. So we took those away, and now what we do is I feed the birds in the morning in a trough feeder, and then I feed the birds again in the evening, and they clear that food. Now there's still some that escapes and falls to the floor and whatever, so there's still some food around, but not the amount there used to be. And we do the same with the waterers now, so the waterers will go out in the morning and they'll stay during the day, but come the evening I'll remove the waterers, so there's no water in the evenings. And rats tend to like coming out in the evening, not during the day. If you're seeing rats during the day, there's a lot of them. So by removing their incentive to being here, we'll drive some away. By killing the ones that are still here, that takes the numbers right down. And eventually you can get to a point where it's manageable. Now, as I said, I would rather they weren't here at all, but as they are, you do have to manage that problem. And it's ongoing. It's not something you can just sit back, because those 2 rats become 50 really quick. They breed all the way through the year. They're breeding from a month old. So their kids are having kids. And like I said, in 3 years, you can end up with 60 million rats. So it's not all fun and games here. And no one likes uninvited guests. Speak to you later, people.